Hello, viewers. Welcome back. In this session, I'm going to cover about the additional options that are made available under the group creation masters in Tally. If you recollect, I had posted a video on 26th of January where I had basically in that video I had explained about the kind of roadmap that I want to build for my channel and the topics that I'm going to cover with regards to Tally and the other fundamental aspects related to accounts, inventory, and statutory compliance. So the reason for me to bring that out video was basically like I'd mentioned in the video. Many of well wishers like you had given me feedback that there are different sections of people who have exposure or experience in Tally, right? So there is this one group of people who are basically the beginners who are getting into Tally for the first time. There are people who have just started using Tally at the basic level, and people using Tally for quite some time and comfortable with the basic and other features of Tally. And there are this expert and power users of Tally who are like using Tally extensively. So there are many aspects which probably some of them would not know about these the features, or probably you can say the additional options that are there. These are like kind of tips and tricks, right? So I had mentioned that I'm creating multiple playlist for each of the section or the segment of our viewers, so that basically they can get the continuity of their learning through these playlist, right? So now the videos that I'm going to upload, basically what I'm planning is to cover each of those playlists where I had basic, advanced, tips and tricks, then statutory and compliance, and also my events, whatever events that I've created, those live events. So if you see, last week I had uploaded one of my recent event that I conducted for Muscat chapter of Chartered Accountants of India, Oman, where Oman country is going to come out with VAT. So I had a session. I was representing Tally Solutions. So that was uploaded. So now if you see, you will feel, you will feel that there is no continuity in my video upload. So the reason being that I want to now concentrate and see how I can keep giving videos for each of those section or each of those segment of our Tally users, who can, if they don't know about these information, they can start like leveraging this after seeing my video. So especially for beginners, if you feel that suddenly you're seeing a video which gets uploaded which is not connected to your the flow that you have already been seeing, don't worry. Just go to the playlist and then select the basic part, so you will get your continuity of basic in that particular section, so that you will have the continuity of learning in a sequential manner, right? So in this session, so this is going to be my first of my uh, probably you can call it as tips and tricks, where I would be explaining about the various options that are available under the group creation screen in Tally, and what do they how do they function, and what impact these options have when they are enabled or disabled. Okay, so quickly let me just share my screen. So So, in our previous introduction to Tally, we had seen that how to create a group, and we also know that the moment you create a company in Tally, Tally is going to give you 28 groups. And like I mentioned in one of my previous session, that whatever this 28 default group that Tally gives, that is more than enough for many companies, especially small and medium organizations. You really don't need to have a user defined group. But we also saw that in case you need a user defined group, we know how to go and create a group, right? So let's go to group creation, accounts info, right? So group, right, create. So we saw, I mean, we created this subgroup in our previous session. We created subgroup under my Sunday datas group as north data, south data. So that was my user defined group, right? So we just created. Now let us start exploring what are these options and how these options are going to impact your data capturing, and also impact the way you are viewing the information of your organizations for informed decision. Okay, so the first one is that group behaves like a subledger. So how does this what impact does it has? And if you say yes, then what happens, right? So before we configure this, let us first see what is the default reporting. And by enabling this option as group behaves like subledger, what impact you are going to have, right? So now I come to let us say I come to display trial balance, right? So trial balance in Tally, if you see, is one report where you can view all those ledger balances, right? So if you see the relevance of verification or validating of your arithmetic accuracy of your bookkeeping is not required anymore from the trial balance of Tally. Because we know in the manual accounting system, for you to make sure that the arithmetic accuracy of your books of account is correct as per the double entry system of accounting, what we do is that we extract the balances of all the ledgers which has got debit balance and credit balance. We populate them on a report called a trial balance. And the expectation is that if your books of records have been maintained properly, the arithmetic accuracy of the books are right, then the total of your all the debit total or in your trial balance should match with the balances of all the ledgers of the credit, right? So if debit total and credit total matches in your trial balance, so that is an indication that your books of accounts are complete and there are no error, right? So in Tally you really don't need it, because in during our voucher session, I had explained that in Tally, that you cannot save a voucher until and unless the debit total and the credit total in the voucher is matching. So both has to match. Only then Tally is going to save the voucher. So that way, 100% you can trust there is never going to be a difference in the opening balance. Now you are wondering what is this difference in the opening balance. So this basically I had entered for an example of giving this particular thing, like Sunday debtors. Later on, I just created this one opening balance ledger. And how do I correct it? I'm just showing you. I mean, how I can remove this is basically, let's say that I go to this particular party, my debit is less by 50,000, so I come here and make this as 65,000. Normally you cannot make this in your books of account. I'm just going to show you this. See, now my opening balance is, the difference in opening balance is gone, because while entering the opening balance, basically there is a error that was committed. So that way the trial balance is also going to tell you, because opening balance is the one thing which you are entering the balance on an individual side. You are going to decide whether the particular balance of a ledger that you are entering as opening balance, whether it is a debit balance or a credit balance. The only possibility of difference in your trial balance could happen when you are entering your opening balance. But as far as the capturing of the transaction is concerned, You will never have a difference in your debit or credit total as far as tally is concerned. Okay, so now let's come to the option of what happens if I make that as behaves like a sub ledger. Okay, group behaves like a sub ledger, right? So now let us say that we are now coming to trial balance. So I come to, from gateway of tally, I go to D for display, T for trial balance, and this is my trial balance. Now I'm going to say I want to see detail of the trial balance. So what am I going to do? I'm going to press Alt F1. Now when I press Alt F1, if you see, my sundry creditors is a subgroup under my current liability, and my sundry debtor is also subgroup under my current asset. Even though I said I want to see in detail, tally is not giving me the ledgers that have been created under my sundry creditors and my sundry debtors, right? So how can you see the ledgers under the subgroups also, right? So there is an option in F12 configuration. I hope you remember the secret number 2, right? So secret number 2 is your F12 configuration. So you press F12, and you have this option here which says expand all level in the detail format. Now we are already in the detail format. If you notice here, the right hand side button bar is now says condensed, which means now you are in the detail. So this is a toggle button, we already know this, right? So now I'm going to press F12, and now I'm going to say yes, enter, and suddenly you will notice that the sundry creditors, all the ledgers under sundry creditors and all the ledgers under your sundry debtors are exploded, right? Now how will you, what impact, or when do you need this option, and what result this option is going to produce when you are doing this? So let's go to the alteration of sundry creditor and sundry debtors group. So how do we alter from any report? So you just put your cursor on the particular group and press Control Enter, and now this option says group behaves like a sub ledger. It is no, right? So now, see, let us assume that you are viewing this trial balance, and we also now discuss that what is the purpose of trial balance in tally. Very simple. The purpose of trial balance in tally is to basically view the list of all the ledger balances in one single screen. Because if you take any of the financial statement or any other report, for example, if you are seeing balance sheet, then you will get the balances of those ledgers which are forming part of your balance sheet. If you see your P&L account, it is going to give you the list of those under the P&L account, right? So this is one report which is going to give you the list of all ledger which is forming part of your balance sheet and also part of your P&L account. So for any kind of analysis, or for any kind of information that you're looking for as a whole, of all your operational ledgers in your organization, trial balance is the best place for you to come and have a look at it. Now, let us take a use case. So, let's say you have sundry creditors, you have hundreds of sundry creditors, you have sundry debtors, you have hundreds of sundry debtors, right? You have about 200 plus sundry creditors, and you have about 500 plus sundry debtors. Let us assume, right? So now when you come to the trial balance, and when you press Alt F1, it is not going to explode. You press F12 configuration, and then you are going to say uh, expand all level. Now the moment you expand all level, we just now saw how the ledgers under the subgroup is getting exploded. Now the moment it explodes, your sundry creditor list is about 200 customers. Your sundry debtors is about 500. So which means literally your trial balance is now going to run into 15-20 pages. All right. So now your your objective of coming here is basically you want to know, okay, what is the total sundry debtors or sundry creditors, right? And just you want to know the balance of sundry creditors, total sundry creditors balance and sundry debtors. But at the same time, you want to explode all level because there are some other subgroup where there are ledgers under that, but you want to see them. Like for example, uh, under indirect expenses, let us say that you have created two or three user group under indirect expenses. Like for example, you have created a group called administrative expenses, you would have created a group called marketing expenses, you would have created a group called personal, which is HR related. So it all depends on how you have structured your chart of account, right? But then you don't want them not to explode in the detail, right? Because in those subgroups, you might be having maximum 5-10 ledgers, and it is important for you to evaluate the value of each ledger. So what you do is you want the problem is you want other subgroup to be exploded in the in this option of expand all level in the detail format, but you don't want the list of sundry debtors and sundry creditors to explode into 15 pages. How do we handle this? Where the option of subledger is going to help you. So let us now see how this option is going to help you. So again, I'm selecting sundry creditors, control enter. Okay. Now I'm going to make this option as yes. Okay. So once again, I have all my ledgers under sundry creditors exploded in the detail format. Okay. So these are my examples, right? So let's you assume that you have your 200 creditors, which literally it might run into three screen only your sundry creditors ledgers, right? So now I'm going to just see what happens now. Okay, so I'm going to press Control Enter, and then I'm going to say group behaves like subledger. I'm going to make this as yes, and I'm going to press Control A, right? See, now your sundry creditors, as the group is collapsed all the ledgers under the sundry creditor, and it is giving you one single value of your total sundry creditors, or the amount that you are payable to your vendors or your suppliers, right? So now similarly, I don't want my customers ledgers to get exploded in the detail format. So I come here and I'm going to press Control Enter here, and yes, you come here and then make this as yes, Control A, and now your sundry debtors also has collapsed all the ledgers under its group. Okay, so now what happens? Okay, now you see, now let's say next time on, you come to your trial balance. So I come to D for display, then I come to T for trial balance, right? And then I'm going to say alt F1. Alt F1 behavior is the same we saw earlier, right? So it is not going to explode the second level groupings ledger under that, or the subgrouping, right? So for that, we know we are going to use F12 configuration, and I'm going to say expand all level, enter. Okay, and even after enabling this, if you notice, your sundry creditors, and your sundry debtors group is not exploding. Now, this is what is the functionality of this particular option called group behaves like subledger. Okay, so again, just to clarify, during my sessions, I used to ask the participant, right? So what is this option called group behaves like subledger? And if I enable this option and I set it to yes, what is the impact, or what change are you expecting, or what is the functionality that you are going to expect out of it? Some of them, I mean, like, basically, because the word sub ledger, right? So the answer sometimes I get is that, if I make this option as yes, then I can use this group for passing the transaction. No, it is not for passing the transaction. And also, some of them feel that when I say it is a sub ledger, it acts like your control account. Yes, literally it acts like a control account, because it is not going to explode in your detailed report. So it is going to just give you one single value, right? But then you can never pass a transaction when you make this. So I hope this option, if some of you never knew or never seen what is the impact by making this, we have already seen here. So now you will have more confidence. So if you feel that you need this particular option in your organization which will really help you, you can make use of this. Okay. So in the next session, in each session we will discuss about each of the option, and then we will see what are the different types of use cases that we can associate with for these options, and see how you can leverage them. Okay. So thank you all staying to the end. I hope this first option would have really, for some of you, would have really thrilled you. Okay, and there are a lot of more tricks and trips in Tally which is there, and also the magic of Tally which we will keep seeing over a period of time, right? So if you really liked it, kindly you can click the like button, and also you can share to your friends and colleagues so that they can also benefit out of this. See you all until the next session. Thank you very much.